Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? My name is Travis. This is Oscar Mike Radio on the move, or as we say in Hawk, lock through launch, missile in flight. Good to be back. Good to be talking to you all, especially during this time of, COVID-19 and all that stuff. I just took a little break to kind of sort some things out, but now I'm back at my normal Thursday cadence. And really happy to be here. Really liking how people are using podcasting and video to connect with other people during this COVID time. And really feel that, what we do as content creators has meaning, especially as we're trying to make sense of everything that's going on. Who would have thought a pandemic would shut our country down the way it has? And I'm wearing my baseball cap tonight, my Kansas City Royals cap, because I am missing baseball a lot more than I thought I would. And if neighborhood kids were having a wiffle ball tournament, I would be there, no hot dogs, but I would be there with my, cup and, seltzer water and, cheering on the team and arguing with the mom about, what's a strike and what's a ball. That's how desperate I am. Big shout out to my sponsors. I really want to take a minute and call them out. Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Mark Holmes of Reaper Detailing and Power Washing, and Sean Schubert of Red Seal Martial Arts. They have really had to adapt and overcome during COVID-19, and it looks like that they might be able to see the other side, and that is huge because as I drive around my local communities, I see a lot of businesses boarded up that will not be coming back, and that's quite sad. It's quite sad. So, they figured out a way to keep themselves alive during this very challenging time. I am extremely humbled and grateful for their support. And if you get a chance on the Oscar Mike Radio, post for this show, check out their links and support them if you can. So we've been in some dire straits, got some things going on. Dropping this, today is June 4th, number 193, talking about Sergeant Slaughter. And yes, I am not a young spring chicken anymore, but growing up and watching wrestling on at my friends' houses on their TVs, when this guy came on to the ring, you knew it was getting real and getting real quick. Sergeant Slaughter. Not Sergeant Happy or Sergeant Grumpy. Sergeant Slaughter. And I was in, and I was doubly in when Sergeant Slaughter came on G.I. Joe. And you knew in the next episode of G.I. Joe that if, Sergeant Slaughter was on that episode, it was going to get real. It was going to be bad guys everywhere, and that they were calling the sergeant in to set things straight. And you knew that Cobra was gonna feel the pain. So I was in. I believed, and I did. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I believed that Sergeant Slaughter was a real person who had really served in the military and then became a professional wrestler, and then as a bonus got put on G.I. Joe. This is way before I understood how WWE and Vince McMahon and all those people worked to market characters. And if I remember right, he wasn't really like a good guy. He was kind of like an anti-hero. He he'd beat up, the good guys and the bad guys. He was kind of like a, an in-betweener, if you will. I don't know. So I was in. I mean, for years I was in. And you'd always see him out doing stuff at the USO stuff and traveling and charity events, so on and so forth. So I was surprised when this Marine Corps Times article came up, and I'll have a link in the Oscar Mike Radio post for this show, by a Jeff Zejevich. Hopefully I said that right. And this has been out for a while. But it goes into that, for lack of a better term, Sergeant Slaughter is a complete fake. And here's why. And you can read the link there. I won't read you the whole entire article, but it's very well done. Basically, Robert Remus had affirmed on several interviews and several times that he had served in the military, particularly in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War. He is on record as saying that several times. And for whatever reason, it's never really been brought to the public's attention or fact-checked. And you might be wondering how that happens and what happens. Well, back in that time, there was not the prevalence of cell phone cameras, social media, computerized records. Like if I need to apply for something like a VA, when I went and signed up with the VA, I gave them my personal identifiable information, and within 10 minutes they verified that I had in fact served the Marine Corps. There are ways you can independently verify my service, and it is what it is. So you have all this now, and none of that then, which is why a lot of the stolen valor situations come from the Vietnam era. A couple from Desert Storm, but a lot of them from the Vietnam and Korean War, because it's just not as easy to verify, although it's getting easier now. And one thing I always say to people is you did what you did in the service. If you were an admin clerk, you were an admin clerk. If you were a cook, you were a cook. If you worked in a doctor's office, fine. My service was my service. It was fairly short by Marine Corps standards. Had a cool MOS, but I got out in E3. I did not serve in combat, and the reason I got out is because my MOS got retired, and if I was going to get promoted, I would have to re-enlist for another 4 years. And getting corporal to me was not worth 4 more years of the Marine Corps, because a lot of people outside of the military don't care. It's that's just the honest truth. So I always advocate and tell people, just be honest. You can tell the lie so many times, and maybe people will believe you. But believe me, if people get worried about your truthfulness, they're going to find out, and it's not that hard anymore. So people started looking at Robert Remus's record, and suffice to say, there is no record anywhere that he served in the military, in the Marine Corps, or over in Vietnam. By all accounts, he did not serve. And the article goes on to explain some of the situations around that, where some people said, well, maybe he was doing that as the Sergeant Slaughter character. Well, the problem with that is the Sergeant Slaughter character is clearly Army. That's the Army Staff Sergeant chevron, the Army, way the Army uniform is done. That's not the Marine Corps smoky. That's the Army smoky. So you can't make that correlation that it's just him talking about his character. he actually lied. And here's what I'm wrestling with. If there's anything I hate, there's two things I really hate when it comes to veterans advocacy is one, when someone takes advantage of a veteran and takes from them when they're trying to get a job, trying to take care of their family, trying to get a house, and they get taken for a ride. I loathe that. How a person can do that is despicable, and they should be called out and punished pretty hard for what they do. But the second thing that right up there, it's not even first and second, they're both just as heinous to me, is when someone claims to have served when in fact they have not. That is never right. If you did not, serve our country, you have no right to say that you did or put on the uniform. If you did not, and conversely, part B of that is if you as a military service member pin an award on your chest that you did not earn, you're just as bad as a person who said that they served and did not. That kind of outright, purposeful, willful lying will not get you anything from me. And it shouldn't get you anything from anybody else. And people do that because of, they want the attention, they want the respect of their, fellow Americans. They're trying to get some benefits. Regardless, it's wrong. It's wrong. And the only thing I don't mind is when I have a Gold Star family member wearing a uniform item from their deceased loved one. That I do not mind. So you're a mother, a father, you're a sister or son or daughter, and you're wearing your dad's or mother's, medals on your chest. Technically, you're not supposed to do that, but if you're doing it in the right context, I would probably not say anything. But to sit there and say that you served and you're wearing those medals is not right. It's clearly not right at all. And he has done that. And if you look at his career, he started coming on the scene for wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s. He has been around for 30 plus years and has had a really good ride. And the article explains how the Sergeant Slaughter moniker and icon got created and why he did it. And it's worked out really well for him. He has taken this and rode it, that horse and then some. And this is the other problem I have. He's profited off of lying about a part of his past that did not happen. So I'm sitting here thinking, what's the thing to do? What is the thing to do now? Well, I am going to, like the author of the article did, Jeff Sejovich, reach out to the WWE and to Robert Remus and ask them, what's up? Why did this happen? And I'm trying to be fair, but did the Army and the military look the other way because Sergeant Slaughter was a point of interest for potential recruitment? Was he, spreading good cheer when he did those base tours and USO visits? Was he doing good when he was going to the hospitals to see kids? Is that why he got a free pass? Is that why no one, in the WWE side or the military side really, look closer and, throw the flag, call a timeout, get in between Sergeant Slaughter and whatever he was doing? I don't know that. But it seems odd that for 30 years this lie was allowed to perpetuate and no one said anything. So I would just like to ask him a couple of questions if I had him here as a guest is, what compelled you to lie about your service? I mean, I don't think I don't think anybody would have felt any differently about the character that he did so well if he had just done the character and not put in the military service. And then the second thing I would ask him is, I really believe this, firmly, is I would like to see him apologize to everyone who served in the Vietnam War who did not come back. Almost 58,000, 15,000 of them were Marines. But the 58,000 Americans died in the Vietnam War, and you claimed you served there. Don't you feel that you owe, Robert, the people who served and the people's families who didn't come back, who are still MIA, an apology for lying about what you did? At the very least. And then, I mean, I don't know why anyone would want this character or this man at one of their functions anymore. Because a lot of what he does is predicated on a lie. And we need some truth right now. We need some people who will have some spine and do the right thing. And it just goes to show that if you tell the lie long enough, people will believe it, but also understand that if you tell a lie, you will be found out. So I am back on a Thursday cadence, 8:30 drop time for all the podcast shows. I will have a link to this in the Oscar Mike Radio post on the OscarMikeRadio.com website, and looking forward to getting back in the swing of things. I just took about a 4-week break to kind of sort some things out with COVID, and glad I did. So this is 193. I am in flight, locked through launch, and thank you very much for watching and listening.